prison van carries John Gotti.
John Gotti was telling the truth.
John Gotti is a power to be reckoned with.
Tonight, John Gotti stands convicted, found guilty on every count against him.
Since this documentary, Get Gotti, on Netflix, came out, everyone is asking, who is Andrea Giovino? Where did she come from? What is she about? I'm here to take you through a journey to explain to you who I am. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm one of 10 children. I came from a background of poverty. My mom tried to make some extra money. She started hosting card games in the basement of our home for Crazy Joe Gallo. And that was like my first vision of crime guys. My first experience was I was 16 and I met my first husband, which was Toby. And Toby Perfetto was very good friends with Robert Scarpacci. They owned Scarpacci Funeral Home. And then we all became friends. I was pregnant, I got married, and had my first child at 19. The marriage didn't work. He got in trouble. He went to prison. And then things started getting really hard for me, really rough for me, because now I have no education at all. And I really have to fend for myself. So I started working. I was working in Manhattan at a restaurant called Gaetano's. I met Frank Lino. As I continued to work one night, he said to me, you know, I have these tickets to go to the theater, and I'd love to take you. We'd have dinner and go to the theater. I go to work the next week, and then Vinny, my good friend, says to me I had to be let go because it was orders from Frank. I said, Frank, I'm good friends. I just went to the theater with him. He says, why don't you call him? I call him up, and Frank Lino would talk like this. I go, hey, Frank, what's up? Hey, Andy, what's up? I go, Frank, I'm not working. They fired me. I know. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's such a hard life. It's late hours. You could be home with your kid. I'm going to help you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to show you a better life. And then I started witnessing a lot of things that really scared me, and I didn't want my son around. I'm 28 at this point. It's about 18 months after my divorce, and my girlfriend and my sister say, come on, we're going to go out into the city tonight. We go to Club A. And this is where I meet John Gotti. So we go in. Now, remember, I was living with a captain in the Bonanno family, so I know street guys. I could tell right away. So we're there for about an hour, and the waiter comes over and brings over a bottle of Cristal, and he said, this is from the table over there. The gentleman is sending it over. Now, I have no idea who they are, but they look like street guys, but I didn't know who they were. I says, no, send it back. The waiter goes, are you really sure you want to do that? I says, yeah, I want to do that. Send it back. I don't want it. Mark Ryder comes over, big, good-looking, 6'2", beautiful blue eyes, big pearly whites. Hey, I'm Mark. He goes, wow, feisty. You send back the bottle? I says, yeah, I don't want it. He says, that's ballsy. I says, that's it. Starts dancing. You know, I really like to take you out. I started dating Mark, and that's how I got to meet John Gotti. There were these women speaking poorly about Margot, which I believe they were women of the night, and there were two of them. And I said, excuse me, honey, please don't talk like that because it's disrespectful to me. She's a really good friend of mine. And I was very nice. She looked at me, and she deliberately continued to do it. Now I started boiling. I says, John, excuse me a minute. I pick up the champagne bottle. They were round tables. I pushed the table on top of the two of them, and I went to work on her. This was the time that John Gotti was being watched by the FBI on a regular basis. So they were across the bar, which I didn't find out till later on, watching all of this. John goes to pull me off of them. Everybody jumps up. And I said to John, get the fuck off of me. I'm not on your payroll. I was completely blacked out. I saw red. They got rid of them. They got them out the back. John calms me down and he says, listen, Rocky. He called me Rocky. He goes, this is, you know, I understand they were disrespecting you and all of that. He goes, but the next time, don't let them know what you're thinking. Just go for it. Like, you know, he was training me. Calls up Mark Ryder the next morning and says, she's got more balls than some of the guys that are around me. She told me, fuck you. He says, this kid is crazy. So then they started calling me Rocky. He gave me the name Rocky. In 1994, because my story was in the newspaper, I got noticed. 60 Minutes saw it. It was at the time they wanted reviews on Sopranos.
Weekly compared you with Carmela.
Yep.
Does anybody really look like Carmela that's married to a mobster?
Not anyone I know. Do I look like that?
No.
Unlike Carmela, Andrea was not only married to the mob, she was a mobster herself.
People were turning left and right in these cases. You arrest 20 guys, I guarantee you 6 out of the 20 are going to turn.
She was part of the old mob, and the old mob is gone. We couldn't resist asking her, does she ever yearn just a little for the bad old days?
Well, I don't have the lifestyle I used to have with the money and all. I like nice things. I always like nice things. But I don't miss that because there's a consequence to that. I think my values are very much intact today. I think if you offered me $50 million, I could look at you and say, go away.
How about 75?
I wouldn't do it. Forget it. I got a book deal for a hardcover book, and I wrote Divorce from the Mob. I got a media blast, which I did many radio shows. One big one was NPR. I did Montel Williams. He gave me the whole hour show because he was so fascinated with my story.
Afraid to talk about it. People told you don't do this.
I'm never going to live in fear. If you did a murder, I was being charged with that also.
murder also.
Right. That's exactly what a RICO means.
Brother, at this point in time, and they were charging him with how many murders?
Oh, a lot. I don't even. Well, it was all drugs. I don't know. A lot of. It was a lot of.
Andrew, don't you understand? I'm sitting there. I'm asking you a question. How many people did your brother? Oh, I don't know a lot.
I mean,
from Montel Williams, then with all that going on from the buzz from the book, I did a series called I Married a Mobster. It was all segments of different women and telling their stories. My story apparently got an award for it, for the film company, and I was asked to go on The View with Barbara Walters.
there was a lot of money owed out on the streets. Okay. So I had to go out on the streets and make these people pay back because a lot of times
Looking like this, you had to make people pay back.
They were fascinated with my lifestyle, and I met Barbara Walters and Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg, Elizabeth Hasselhoff, and Star Jones. And that was a wonderful experience also. So I've done numerous things in my life. Everything is documented. There were other people in the streets right now that are very good friends of mine that I grew up with that say, if Andrea Giovino was a man, she would have been made. And I think that you will all appreciate the redemption part of who I am today and what I was 35 years ago because of what I got thrown at me, a curveball from my younger years. And now I'm able to be the person God intended me to be. And this is who I am, and this is who I've developed to be. And I just keep growing every day and learning every day.